Hi guys, how you doing? I wanted to do a quick video tonight on um new witches and tips for them. I don't have an exact number of how many tips I've got, but I got a lot. And they're not in any certain order. The things that are super important, well, are everything that I listed, but what I feel is like most important, I'll emphasize it. So here we go. Excuse me, to start off with, study. Read everything you can get your hands on. Take it with a grain of salt. If you see it repeated in books, it's probably true. If you read 4 or 5 books and they're all different, you have to feel out what feels right for you. Take from it what you can. Leave in it what doesn't seem like it would work for you. That's studying. The second one is write everything down. These two are extremely important. Write everything down. Everything. It's important to write it all down because later you're going to need that information. Elements, all that stuff. You're going to want all that information. Research everything. That's why I said read 3 or 4 books if they're not all the same. Researching is important because books have become mainstream now. It's real big to write a witchy book, but it doesn't mean that information in them is fact. So research everything and ask questions. Ask practicing witch anything you can, anything you want, anything you need to know. Ask a practicing witch. 9 times out of 10, that's where you're going to get the best information. There's an Amino Witches and Pagans where you can talk to witches all day long. There's YouTube where you get some really good information, some not so good. But again, research, watch it. Watch many. If they are all kind of saying the same thing when it comes to a certain thing, odds are it's right. Next is don't worry about having a label. Am I a sea witch? Am I a hedge witch? It doesn't matter. All witches practice fairly close to the same, and all that will come to you. You will start having a feeling after a lot of practice as to what you're drawn to the most. If you're drawn to fire the most, maybe you're going to call yourself a fire witch. We don't have to have a label to start learning witchcraft. That's something that literally comes later. It will draw itself to you, or you will be drawn to it. So don't worry about a label. You don't need to know what kind of witch you are today. Obtain a sacred space. This is important. You need a place where you can study. You need a place where you can do a little practice if you want. You need a place. It doesn't have to be a witchy room. I'm blessed to have a witchy room. Trust me, I'm blessed. I was without for a long time, but when I was without, I set up an outdoor area. If you can't set up an outdoor area, set up a corner of your kitchen, set up a corner of your dining room, set up a corner of your living room. Do it in a closet. If you've got a spare closet, just have a sacred space somewhere, even if it's the bathroom, just have a place somewhere where you can light a candle, give it some intention, do your studying, do your researching, writing all your stuff down. Just try to have a sacred space somewhere. It's important, and it gives you a place to get in the zone. When you're just studying, sitting on the couch and reading a book, you're just reading a book. But to study takes some energy. It takes some real energy. So it's like when you were a young person, you had your room to do your homework in. You had the dining room table to do your homework on. You need a space that's going to be designated for that so you can get in the zone when you walk into that space. That's just my thoughts. It's not like a necessity, but for me it is. It's most definitely a necessity for me. Get out into nature. Get out and feel nature. Get out among the trees and the birds and the raccoons and everything else there is out there. Get out there and feel it. It may sound silly, but hug a tree. Put your hands on it. Feel its energy. Grab a plant and feel its energy. Don't pluck it. Don't pick it. But feel it. Feel its growth and its energy and its livelihood. Feeling energy is important when you're a witch. You've got to learn to feel energy. And that's the next thing on my list is practice feeling energy. So you're going to feel energy from a crystal. You're going to feel it from everything. Everything has energy to it. Even if it's an inanimate object, a can holder. A lot of people have held this. Yes, I'm drinking a beer. A lot of people have held this can and it's got energy to it. You know, it's got its own energy. Everything does. So practice feeling energy from everything you touch. Everything. Cheers. The next thing is really important. Get in early and concrete beginning. Learn to visualize. Visualizing is part of enchanting. You need to be able to visualize the energy you're feeling in your hands going into the object you're enchanting. You need to be able to see that in your mind's eye. So practice visualization. And we'll talk about energy, replenishment also, because I learned years ago how to open my crown chakra, let energy come through my crown chakra, fill my body, and then I could use my own energy to enchant, but the entire time I'm doing it, I'm replenishing that energy. I'm getting energy back, and that's important. You don't want to use all your own energy. When you're done with a spell or a big ritual, you could be drained from using your own energy. So it's important to replenish your energy as you go. That's a very important thing. You can do that in nature. You can do that by standing on the ground barefoot. You can do that by sitting at the base of a tree to do your magic. Those things are going to send you energy. They're going to open you up to more energy and give you some. So replenishing your energy is really important. Practice your intuition. Practice knowing things. Practice because it's really good for divination, and it's really good to be able to read people fairly well and their intention and what their thought process is. So practice your intuition. Practice it. I'm not saying you're going to be able to read minds, but I am saying that you can start feeling and reading people with intuition. And so practice it. I know that sounds a little strange and like, how do I practice intuition? Well, ask someone a question and pay attention to their body language. Pay attention to how they act when you're asking that question. Is it too personal? Are they telling the truth? Maybe they're wishy-washy about the question. But just pay attention when you're having a general conversation with anybody. Just pay attention to body language, to reaction, to everything. Just pay attention and hone your intuition. It's important. Hold a strong intention. When you are enchanting something or you are lighting a candle for a reason, hold that intention. Know that that's why you're lighting it. I am lighting this candle as a money candle to bring money to my family and give us financial freedom. I'm going to be thinking that, and I'm going to be visualizing that flame when I light that candle, giving that intention to that candle. So practicing intention is really important. Have a strong intention. Learn to cleanse yourself. Learn to cleanse yourself before and after work. Any workings. Before I start a working, tonight I did a spell box for someone, a client, from my Etsy page, which is in the description in case you're interested. Tonight I did that. And prior to starting, I did a salt bath. And I didn't take a bath. I did a salt bath. I'll give you a little demonstration. I have a large piece of Himalayan salt, and I literally just cleanse myself with it. I just cleanse my entire body, hair included. Every part of me gets cleansed with this salt before I start a spell. And I do that because I want to be clean. There was a hair on it. I want to be cleansed before I start the spell. When I am finished with the spell, I do the same exact thing. I cleanse myself with the salt because I don't want to carry that energy. I don't know. My phone said something, but I didn't catch it. Anyway. So learn to cleanse yourself. And grounding meditations are really important. You need to learn to ground and center. A good way to do this is to literally imagine, visualize that you are sitting at the base of a tree and that your spine, your root chakra, is growing roots out of it into the mingling of that tree. And in the center of that tree, way deep in the earth, is a crystal. And you're going to hook your roots into that crystal. And you are going to ground. You are going to feel at peace. You are going to feel like you are part of the earth, part of the tree. When you're ready, unattach your roots, pull them back into your spine, breathe deeply, and go ahead and get up. That is a meditation, a visualization. And that's what meditating really is, other than when you're trying to just clear your mind. When you're trying to clear your mind meditating, it's a little tricky and it takes a lot of practice, but it's not hard to do once you get the hang of it. To do that, you want to concentrate on your breath. You just want to hear your breath coming in and out. You don't want to control your breath. You just want to hear it. You just want to pay attention to it until you have no thoughts at all. And it's a hard thing to do, but it does take practice, but you can do it. You will master it, I promise. The next thing is you're going to want to start a beginning book of shadows. You can use an old notebook. I'm using a notebook today. I actually have one called Pre-Augustus. Augustus is my book of shadows, very large book of shadows. And everything that I do, I put in here first. I do it. If it works, if it's something I feel good about, then I'll put it in my spell book. If it turns out that it didn't go so well or it's not something I'm interested in, I don't put it in my spell book. So a beginning book of shadows can just be a notebook. So you want to have one of those. And what you're going to add. What do I add to a book of shadows? Okay. You want to add the elements. You want to add what comes from the elements or what comes with the elements and why there are directions to the elements, especially if you plan on doing ritual where you draw a circle and you actually, cast a circle and stay within that circle to do a spell or a ritual. You're going to want to know directions. You're going to want to know elements and all that. Another thing to put in your book of shadows, it keeps saying something, would be colors. You want the colors in there and their meanings. Blue, for instance, is peace, tranquility, healing. Green is also good for healing. It's good for money. It's good for prosperity. It's good for abundance. Yellow is a great friendship color, good for bringing people together. Black, a lot of people think is a cursing candle. Black is not a cursing candle. Black is a all-around color. It takes every single color in the rainbow to make black. So it encompasses all colors. And when you have no candles, but black candles, they work just fine for giving you that stand-in for whatever color it is you need. White candles are usually light and healing, for me anyway. Anyway, you can go through Pinterest or Google and find out colors and their meanings. Remember to research. They're not always listed the same, and you want to be sure you get the truth before you put that in your book. Another thing to put in a beginning book of shadows would be moon phases and what they're good for. Full moon, new moon, dark moon. Well, yeah. And your quarters of the moon, the first quarter, second quarter, and what you can use those for, what spells work best in those. So moon phases. Next would be the wheel of the year. You definitely want the wheel of the year if you're going to celebrate Sabbats and Esbats. You want to know, what's the Sabbat? What is the fall equinox? What is that? The autumnal equinox. What is that going to do for me? What workings can I do during that time? So the wheel of the year and the explanations of all the SBOTs and SUBOTs you're going to want. Times of day. What times of day are best for what workings? What days of the week are best for what workings? Your spells, what works and what doesn't. If you do a spell and it works well for you, be sure that you record that it worked well for you. A lot of times, like I said, I put them in a notebook. If they work well for me, then they go into my big book of shadows. But any way you want to do it is fine. Mark it with a green marker if it worked well. Mark it with a red one if it didn't, that type of thing. You'll put recipes in your book of shadows, your oil recipes or your powder recipes or your Sabbath cake recipes, any of that, your SBOT recipes, recipes, period. Groundings, any type of groundings you learn and that work for you, you want to put those in there. And any type of meditations that you've learned that work for you, you want to put that in there. So with that, I'd like to, those are my tips. And with that, I'd like to first and foremost tell you, witchcraft is dedication and education. That is what witchcraft is, to be dedicated to a craft and to educate yourself forever. I have been practicing magic my entire life. I have been heavy into practice since I was in my 20s, and I am still learning every day. And sometimes I'm learning from new witches. They come in with insight. They come in with so much, and you're constantly learning. So know that it's constantly an education. You are continually learning something. I learned something today from someone about brick dust. So that was great. So remember that witchcraft is dedication and education. That's what it is. And then I'd like to welcome you all of you that are new witches, to my channel, and ask you to please let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see done, any type of spell you're interested in, anything that you're interested in seeing on video or on a live. Please post it in the comments. I'd be happy to do my best to oblige anyone who's trying to learn anything. And last but not least is not a tip, but it is a very sound piece of advice. Don't start practicing magic until you realize what you're getting into, because there are causes and effects to everything. And you need to know what you're doing before you decide to just run out and do it. So please study, please take your time learning. And you know, learning never ends, but we can get schooled enough that we're comfortable performing magic. And you need to be comfortable performing magic. You don't want it to be awkward or unfounded. You need to be really careful when practicing magic, what you're doing, and realize there is cause and effect to everything. And I hope that helped you all. I would love to hear comments. Remember, please leave me comments and know that you are loved. You are divine and sacred beings of light and love. And I love you very much. Whether I know you or not, I love you very much. Please have yourself a blessed night, and I will talk to you soon. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.